Hello, my name is Sean Sindel, and today I'm going to try to persuade you that video games are not as bad as the media makes them out to be. I myself am an avid gamer, and it has helped me throughout my life from youth all the way till now. I use video games as a release to all the stressful things that go on, such as work and family issues. And one of the things that I can say about video games is it's very therapeutic, and that is one of the main topics I will be going over today. I apologize for my presentation just for the fact that I am out of the state and all of my stuff is back home, but I will try to make this as inviting and as informational as I possibly can. So, my first reason for why video games are so beneficial is that it can produce motor skills that a lot of people can only develop over a lifetime. And what I mean by that is the American Psychological Association says that playing video games help surgeons reduce errors when working on the table. And I find this very beneficial because if you play video games and you work on those skills, you won't threaten someone's life. And video games does this because using a controller or using, say, a nunchuck for the Wii, it helps you maneuver throughout the video game and make it more pristine and more precise. And when we talk about introducing motor skills, such as how the Wii is so interactive, kids at such a young age can produce things such as hand-eye coordination better than today's neurologists and today's heart surgeons because they play video games. And it's been proven over countless times. My second main part of this is going to be my bread and butter, which is the social interaction that video games can produce. I myself have played World of Warcraft at a young age, my teenage years, from 14 to 16. And what I can say about this is that it helped me get out of my comfort zone and get out of my shell. And when you get out of your comfort zone, you start to realize more things about yourself that you didn't know before. And also, the American Psychological Association says that almost 75% of the patients they have show an increased interaction with other children that play the same game. Playing online, such as with your Xbox or your PlayStation, you have to develop these social skills in order to interact with your teammates, such as taking lead roles, being a follower, and this is how you get the win in a video game, is that you have to communicate. And this can look on the outside, such as giving public presentations, like I am myself, or taking a lead role in a group outside of video games. And this has also helped me in my line of work. And having some social skills decreases the risk of being closed off, being sheltered, and it gets you out and open in the world. And one of my presentations that I have is a percentage and a myth versus the truth. The myth being video games lead to youth violence. And the reason I chose youth violence in my social interaction is when you don't have social interaction, you tend to lose sight of how to interact with other people. And this, I think, is portrayed in the media very wrongly. I think that people in the media try to make sure that video games are looked down upon, and that violent video games actually persuade children into doing these violent acts, which is not true. The truth is, according to federal crime statistics, the rate of juvenile violent crimes in the United States is at a 30-year low, which means that in our day and age that kids usually grow up playing video games and violent video games, they don't develop these skills. It actually decreases the urge to do violent acts and to decrease the behavioral traits that kids may develop in violent video games. So, the last truth about this, researchers find that people serving time for violent crimes typically consume less media before committing their crimes than the average person in the general population. which just means more people that do these violent crimes don't even touch a video game. My next topic is going to be over the therapeutic and how therapeutic video games can be. And the other slide that I have is showing general facts about how when you're more at ease, you tend to make less negative decisions. And this can go from parenting skills to your children, and video games can be a part of that. That way, in your being therapeutic, is that children can find relief in video games that they might not be able to find in the real world. So one of this is 91% of the time parents are present when games are purchased or rented. 56% of parents say games are a positive part of their children's lives. 42% of parents play computer and video games with their children at least weekly, which, in my case, my dad and me would play video games and would be a very big help in my general adulthood and childhood. And the last one is 82% of children receive their parents' permission before purchasing or renting a game. So going back to how violent video games are, it's all based upon the parents' decision. If the parents let their children play video games, then that's their own priority. So if they want to blame anybody, it should actually be the parents, and which in most cases it usually is. So I hope that I touched on all the topics that I wanted to in persuading you that video games aren't as bad as people make them out to be. It's very helpful in motor skills and mostly in social interaction, and it helps kids get the relief they need. That way they don't commit the violent acts that media makes them out to be. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my speech.